Today on our channel I will talk about how I salt and dry fish. In particular, I went fishing before the ban and caught some roach. In total I went out 3 times and caught about 8 kilograms. Then right after returning I salted it. For salting, regular salt is used of coarse grind. Coarse grind is better because it provides good salting. Excess moisture is drawn out from the fish, so I only use coarse salt. A pot of the necessary size is taken and the roach is layered in it. Or another fish that you like, but roach is most suitable for salting because it is fatty, and after drying a lot of fish oil remains. This oil is absorbed into the meat, making it very juicy and tasty. Nod. It is laid down. I place it on its side. Some advise laying it belly up or back up, but from my own experience, I find it more convenient to lay it on its side. We layer the fish in a single layer and sprinkle it with salt. On average, about 200 grams of salt is used per 1 kilogauss of fish, depending on how densely the fish is packed and how salty we want the fish to be. I put the fish in the refrigerator using an enamel pot. You can't use stainless steel, but under no circumstances should you use aluminum or regular metal, because the salt will cause rust and the metal will oxidize. And if, for example, it's aluminum, it will form aluminum oxide. And all of that will end up in our stomach, which is very harmful. First I layer the fish here, salted, and after the pot is completely filled, I place a weight on top. I have a plastic disc, or you can use a wooden one, cut out of plywood. It is placed on the layer of fish and pressed down with a weight. In my case, I use a regular granite stone, which weighs about 3 kilo, and it does its job well by tightly pressing the fish. I remind you that the weight is needed to ensure the fish is well salted and to prevent air bubbles from forming, and to prevent the fish from rotting in certain spots, because the smell of rot cannot be fixed by anything. After I gather all of this, I cover it with a lid and put it in the refrigerator. I conduct the salting process over the course of a week. Some advise salting for 3 days. 3 days is also possible, but that's assuming the salting temperature is relatively high. This can be done in a cellar at a certain temperature, plus 10, plus 15 degrees. But in this case, there's a risk that the fish might not salt properly at the initial stage and could spoil a little. And of course, we don't want that to happen. So after we put the fish in the refrigerator, and it has been there for a week, we take it out of the refrigerator. After that, we take it and pour it. I use for this purpose a shower cabin. So I poured it out. Then we turn on the cold water in the shower and thoroughly wash off from it salt, which might remain on the fish. It is preferable to use cold water because if hot water is used, it can cause undesirable rotting processes. So again, where will it be? Fish with a tooth. In the first stage, it's important for the fish to be in a cold environment for as long as possible. Here in my bathroom, it's not hot. I don't know what it is. About 15 degrees Celsius. This will ensure that it cures well. It will soak and not spoil until it dries. After rinsing, I use a regular plastic tub for draining. I place the fish in this tub, pour her over it. I won't show all the details, but the idea is this. After we place it, we pour water until the cold water gently covers the fish. It is advisable to take larger containers so that the fish can be soaked as well as possible. Get soaked. If we salted the fish for a week, then I soak it for about 7-10 hours. This time is enough for the fish. Fully soaked. But this is also all relative to personal preference, because I prefer the fish to be less salty, as it is then fattier, tastier, and I like it more that way. Ideally, by the end of its soaking, it should rise, float up to the surface. During this period, I change about 3 times. Water, because the water quickly becomes saturated with salt and then it doesn't soak well. Now our fish has been soaking for 7 hours. The fish is soaked. You can test the quality of the soaking by pulling off the top fin of the fish, and try it on the way. Let it be a bit salty so it will stay in the water for another hour or 2. After the fish has been soaked, it needs to be hung up to dry. I used to use ropes for this, various kinds, nylon. This is acceptable if the fish is small, particularly gobies dry well on a rope. And I don't hang them very meticulously, also the small roach and others. If the fish is about the size of a palm or larger, I use wire hooks which hold the fish very well, and it doesn't go anywhere. For this, regular wire is used, preferably stainless, as salt can cause rust, which would negatively affect the fish. The diameter of the wire is about 1-2 millimeters. It must be binding and soft. We take pliers, cut a piece of wire, about 5/7. See, depending on the size of the hook we want to make, taking the edge with pliers, we make a bend. We bent it in one direction, and now taking the other side with pliers, we make a bend in the opposite direction. Now we have a hook that can be used to hang fish. Here the question also arises about how to properly hang the fish, head down or tail down. I use these hooks for hanging and advise everyone to hang the fish by the tail, as the fish will not have a bile taste, will not be bitter, and will dry well, quickly, as excess moisture will easily escape from the head. There is an option for those who want fattier fish. First hang the fish by the tail, let it hang in this position for a day, and then, after that, hang the fish by the head. And it remains hanging like this until the drying process is complete. Here, a small hole is also made near the tail, and the wire is easily pierced, about 1.5 to 2 centimeters from the fin. In this position, and now you can hang it on a rope, on a cord, preferably away from cats. In a well-ventilated room or outside. The main thing is to avoid direct sunlight, as sunlight causes fat oxidation, and later the fish's belly may develop a brown, rusty coating, spoiling the taste, giving it a slightly bitter flavor. But there are enthusiasts who enjoy even this.
This is how a fish looks when hung on a wire, each on a separate hook. You can see a drop of water flowing through the fish's mouth. It's preferable to hang the fish in the evening. This is all done to protect against flies because overnight the excess moisture will drain, and in the morning flies won't be able to lay their eggs or larvae in the hidden spots of the fish. If the fish hasn't dried by morning, it's advisable to take sunflower oil, mix it with a spoonful of vinegar, take a brush, and thoroughly coat the outside of the fish. Flies don't like the smell of vinegar and sunflower oil, so they won't touch it. In this position, the fish will dry for about a week. But if the weather is sunny, it might dry faster. But then you can take it out, you remove it. As I mentioned earlier, wrap it in newspaper, a plastic bag, seal it tightly, place it in the freezer, and use it as needed.